Welcome, everyone, to a very, very, very special episode of the Line Chasers. It's going to be just me and Brant today, and we're going to be giving you the 2024-2025 NBA season preview. Nobody else could make it because Corey is playing.
They
And
don't know ball.
They don't know ball. We planned this 2 nights ago. Very early for us. It's 9 a.m. on a Saturday. Corey is at a golf outing, and Hunter and Connor were out drinking until 3 in the morning last night. And I don't believe they're awake.
That didn't stop some of us from getting up this morning.
Brant's an hour behind. He's over in Chicago, so he's Central Standard. He's 8 a.m. But you got the two.
I love the NBA. I love these over-unders. I love talking hoops.
Yes, sir. Me and Brant probably watch the most hoops out of all the Line Chasers, so we're
the most of anyone in the world. Nobody watches
there.
more hoops than me. I was watching preseason basketball last night. I watched the WNBA. I go to local high school games. I go to the park. I'm Unk at the park shouting. They need to play zone. What they need to do, they need to play zone. That's me.
So yeah, I mean, with that, you're in the right hands here to take you through the season. So we've broken it down into 4 different categories of 4 different tiers of teams. We're going to go through the Eastern Conference first, and then we're going to head over to the West. So we're going to give you a full NBA preview with the team totals that Vegas has set, and we're going to tell you if we like this team to do better than that, worse than that, any moves that the team's made in the offseason, talk about the changes from last year. The 4 tiers we've done, shout out to Brant for the worst tier. I think it's a great name. It's Capture the Flag.
I didn't come up with that.
Shout out to whoever he stole that from. These are all the teams that are obviously going to be taken for the number 1 prospect, Cooper Flag. After that, we got the play-in teams that are probably going to be fighting for a chance to sell one more home seat and get a play-in game. Shout out to Chicago Bulls, Jerry Reinsdorf, who does it every year. Then above that, we got the can they make a run tier, teams that are probably mid-tier playoff teams, 40-ish win teams. Can they get hot at the end of the season? Can they make a trade at the deadline, get hot, try and make a run? Kind of sort of what the Pacers did last year when they traded for Siakam and ended up making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And then we have the true contenders in each conference. That's pretty self-explanatory. It's teams with the best rosters fighting for the playoff, for the Eastern Conference Finals every year, Western Conference Finals appearances. So we're going to start at the bottom of the East. And we're going to work our way up to the top. So you got anything before we start, Brent? Anything you want to say?
No, once we get through with the tiers, let's do a recap for each one and say like who we think has the biggest, best potential, highest ceiling, lowest floor kind of thing.
Cool. All right. So according to, these are all odds from DK Sportsbook at about noon yesterday, 10-11. So don't come at me if they're not the same lines anymore. We've got the Nets as the worst team, not only in the East, in the league this year. They've set their team total at 19.5 wins. Last year they had 32. Obviously, they've made some moves in the offseason. They got rid of Mikal Bridges for what I would say is a fantastic trade package for, at best, the 3rd best player on playoff team, championship level team. Nets are fully rebuilding. They won a tank. We had 2 teams go under 15 wins last year. I think that's completely in the realm of possibility for the Nets. I think they're going to trade every asset they have. Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, those guys are going to be gone. I think that this is going to hit under comfortably. So that's where I'm at with that, Brant.
What you got to remember when you're talking about this Nets team is that they do not have a pick in the draft this year. They don't control their own pick.
I think they do. Don't they? Didn't they? Is this one that the? Let me look this up. I know they traded with the Rockets to get their picks back, so I thought that's what this was for.
I don't think they have their pick this season.
Okay.
Which shows you what Vegas thinks of this roster, that they still have the lowest win total.
Yeah.
Are you looking that up? Are you double checking?
I'm fact checking you because I don't want us to start the podcast off with that.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't write my source down. I just wrote down they don't have their pick.
Yeah, let me look it up here.
But regardless, I think a rotation.
They did get their own pick back.
Did they?
They actually have. Holy fuck, they have 4 first rounders this year.
I knew they had other people's. I didn't know. All right.
They have the Knicks,
Sorry.
Bucks, their own, and then either OKC, Houston, or Phoenix, depending on. These swaps are ridiculous.
That's fine. That takes me into another point I was going to make about tanking, because I was wondering how much that would or would not factor into the win totals. And so, for example, I looked at the Pistons last year, who definitely tanked. They sat Cade for the last 7 games of the season with a knee contusion, and they went 1-6 in those 7 games. Then you got to say, like, okay, how many of those games do you think they would have won if Cade had played? Like 1 more, maybe 2 max. So I have a hard time considering that a team, even if you're sure they're going to tank, it's going to affect their win total by more than 1 or 2. And tanking is not technically legal. You're not allowed to do it. Do you remember the Dallas Mavericks tanking?
I remember it well.
Yeah. We talked about this the other day, but they did not get the pick taken, which basically makes tanking legal in like a wink and nudge kind of way of like, yeah, you can do it. Just don't, because there's not going to be any real punishment to it. Just like at least act like your guys are hurt.
Don't admit it in the media like Mark Cuban did.
Right. Kid threw him under the bus, I think. But yeah, I think there's real potential this year for 3 or 4 teams probably, which is around the number that I think made an effort to do it last year. But this team's terrible. I mean, their best players are Nick Claxton and Cam Thomas. Like,
they do get a healthy Ben Simmons this year. Oh.
Right. So we had 2 teams go under this last year. But the year before that, it was only 1. Washington had 17 wins. And then 3 years ago, the lowest win total was 20. So nobody went under this number. It's really tough. It's so low.
It's very low, but I truly believe that when there's a guy like this good in a draft, I think that they don't have any other moves. They have to tank. They're going to trade their players. I think this is, in my opinion, this is easily the worst roster in the NBA. So I feel comfortable betting they're under pretty. If any team's going to go under 20, it's this one.
I agree that this is the worst roster in the NBA. I think that's by a margin. I think,
and the league is pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of players. That's another thing that I was going to talk about in the intro and forgot. The league is in a great spot if you're an NBA fan. This is the deepest it's probably ever been. Expansion is around the corner. It's a great time. Great time. All right, I think that's enough talk about the Nets. Nets games are going to suck. They don't have any guard play at all.
Oh my God, Cam Thomas, they're not even going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly. A team that might be fun to watch. Next up, Wizards, 20.5 wins. They had 15 last year. They had the number 2 pick in this year's draft. Alex Sarr. They signed Jonas Valanciunas in the offseason, basically as a trade asset for midseason. He's on like a 3-year, $13 million deal. He will not be on the team at the end of the season. And they traded away the IDF agent, Danny Avdia. So, I don't know. Sarr had one of the worst NBA summer leagues ever. I haven't watched enough preseason, definitely not Wizards, to know if he looked any better. But this team stinks. Kuzma keeps wearing fits and talking in the media. Jordan Poole is still MIA. I'm going to let Brant take it from here because he's the biggest Poole head I know.
This team does not stink. They actually had 3 first-round picks this year. Alex Sarr at number 2, Bub Carrington at 14, and Keyshawn George at 24. All are going to have potential to play this year because his roster is not super deep. They lost Avdia. They also get rid of Tyus Jones, and they traded Gafford in the middle of the year last year. They bring in Valanciunas. They also signed Sadiq Bey, who is probably going to start for them, and Malcolm Brogdon. Sadiq Bey started for Atlanta last year too.
Yeah, he
He's
started
not
a
a
lot
bad
of
player.
games. He's a no 3, no D player. Favorite archetype.
And my biggest point with the Wizards is that Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma are good. They're good players. Kyle Kuzma was a starter, a legitimate contributor on an NBA championship team.
I agree. Kuzma is a good player. He's not good in the role that he's in right now, but that's what he wants to be.
I think Koulibaly is going to have a breakout season.
I like Koulibaly.
I think Sarr will at least be effective defensively, which, like, defending the rim, the Wizards were terrible last year. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were at bottom 3 defense.
After they traded Gafford, it was over.
I think they get better on defense. Getting rid of Jones, Tyus Jones, and Avdia were both traffic cones. They were both terrible on defense, and replacing those minutes with Brogdon, Bey, added minutes for Koulibaly, and Sarr are all improvements defensively from where they were last year. They've got size off the bench. They signed Marvin Bagley. Rashawn Holmes, the 10-year vet, still coming off the bench for them. I like this over 20.5 wins. I kind of like it a lot.
Yeah, I can't get there. I can't get there. I wouldn't be surprised if this is another just wanting to tank year for them.
I had a feeling that you were going to overvalue the tanking thing.
I mean, I kind of am just specific. Maybe, listen, last year, I think a lot of teams tanked and they weren't even trying. I think Detroit was trying to win a lot of games. They were trying to win games last year. They fucking couldn't. I think the league is really good. I think there's a lot of really good teams in the league, which makes me really undervalue these shitty teams.
Yeah, that's why Washington is projected to go 20-42.
I understand.
That's not very good.
20-62. Yeah.
Right, 20-62. Yeah,
I get it.
Good.
I don't know. They won 15 games last year. Maybe if Poole comes out from under a rock, but I don't even know if the guy wants to play basketball anymore. It really depends if they keep Kuzma, because they tried to trade him last year to the Mavs. Thank fucking God, Kuzma said that he wanted to stay and build a winner in DC, which is hilarious. Because the Mavs ended up getting a way better deal. Yeah, I just can't get there. I'm not confident in either, just because the total's so low. But I would never put my word or my money on the Washington Wizards ever. So, you got anything else on the Wizards?
Poole has made a lot of comments in the offseason about being forced to play out of position last year and having to play the 2 with Tyus Jones at the 1. And I don't know.
Poole's a fun player. I honestly hope he gets it together. I don't think he's ever going to be an all-star or anything, but I would love for him to just be making an efficient 20 a game. Would be fun to watch from Poole. He's one of the best shot creators in the game.
I think that's very well within the range of possibilities this season.
And if he can do that, then they can for sure get over 20.5. If Poole can become a plus offensive player again, because he is a cone on defense, that's for sure. But if he could be a plus offensive player, efficient with the pieces that they have, young and switchable on defense, I think that they for sure can hit that total. It just really comes down to Poole and if they keep Kuzma. If Poole could be efficient and they keep Kuzma through the whole season, I think they will go over. But I'm not confident in either of those. Next up is the Pistons. My Pistons. I've been on this team for the past 2 years saying this is the year for the Pistons. This is the year for the Pistons. I'm not making that mistake again. They've got the line at 25.5.
It was not the year for the Pistons last year.
They had a league worst 14 wins last year. A historically bad season. I will never forget. I would love to. I need to look up the ratings from that Celtics game where they were about to break the record for most consecutive losses. And they ended up beating the Celtics, which was great. Or did they lose to the Celtics?
They lost to the Celtics. They got it very close, though.
They went to overtime to the Celtics, and they won the day after. I think they were one short. Anyway, great game. This Pistons team, man, I am such a fan of Cade. I loved watching him at Oklahoma State. I really think he's really good player. It's just tough that they have done such malpractice to this roster around him, and they keep doing it.
I feel the exact same way. I love Cade, and I don't think they have another good player on the team.
Yeah, Jaden Ivey people like. I maybe if him and Cade both were in better situations for their own play styles, they don't mesh together. They both like
Apparently,
the ball.
Monty Williams just didn't like Ivy
Yeah, I
and
know
was like
that.
not playing him. But yeah, he's not a good enough shooter, and neither is Cade for
Yeah,
them to
that's
be for that to be your backcourt.
and especially when that's your backcourt, and then you're surrounding them with Marvin Bagley, James Wiseman, Asor Thompson. None of these guys can shoot.
Mm-hmm.
But the Pistons front office did it again. They traded Quentin Grimes to the Mavs for Tim Hardaway Jr. I don't understand that move. I don't get it. Quentin Grimes was hurt last year, but Tim Hardaway Jr., as a Mavs fan, I can tell you, is not the answer to your shooting problems. People think he's a shooter. He's not.
Right. In theory, they have addressed the shooting problem by adding Hardaway, Malik Beasley, and Tobias Harris.
It's tough, man. It really is.
This seems like a team that Tobias Harris is going to have the ball all the
That's
time.
what I'm
You're going to be
thinking.
watching this team and thinking, why the fuck does Tobias Harris have the ball every time I'm turning to this channel?
Yep, I'm imagining watching the Pistons, and I just can already see it. It's going to be disgusting. There's going to be a lineup out there. It's going to be Jalen Duren, Tobias Harris at the 4, Asor Thompson at the 3, Caden Ivey in the backcourt, and you're going to be sitting there with Duren in the dunker spot, Tobias Harris in the low post, and you're going to have 3 non-shooters standing around asking themselves, why the fuck is this the lineup that we have on the floor?
And they didn't get any better on defense, and they were terrible on defense last year. And this win total is
pretty high for
they're
them.
They're projecting them 12 more wins than they got last year to go over this.
They did draft Ron Holland.
Almost double their wins from last year.
Yeah, they drafted Ron Holland, who's an interesting prospect in the draft.
What's his Rookie of the Year odds? I didn't write that down.
I wouldn't touch his Rookie of the Year odds because the problem is he plays the same position as Caden Ivey, and he has the same problem as him. He can't shoot. He's an interesting driver. They did bring in the shooting coach from the Pelicans, who is the best in the league according to everything that I've listened to and read. He helped fix Lonzo's shot before he left for Chicago. He's improved Herb Jones. He turned him into a 40% 3-point shooter. So they're hoping that he can work with Cade and Ivy. I think Cade's a better 3-point shooter than that he gets credit for. I don't think he's completely broken from 3.
I agree. He has to take tough shots.
Yeah. So basically, I just hope Cade gets a team around him. I would be pleasantly surprised to watch the Pistons be good this year. I would love it, but I just don't see it. And they also got a new coach. Monty Williams was fired. They brought in Bickerstaff, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they brought in Bickerstaff. I didn't like Bickerstaff with the Cavs, but he's won decent games with them. He won a decent amount of games with them. He's probably going to be better than Monty, who didn't even want to coach. But yeah, I'm not sold on the Pistons. I would go under with this team.
Are we giving out official plays here? Are we going to keep track of what we give?
I was thinking about it. I think we can keep track of it just so you and me can go head to head throughout the season at the end and see who was right about what teams.
Yeah, I'm not going to give a pick for every team.
Yeah.
I'll probably do like around half of them, and then I'll give out a couple of locks as well.
Yeah, we can go over it at the end, which ones are our official ones. But I'm definitely thinking under on the Pistons here.
I think I'm going to make the Pistons an official under for me, which scares me because I kind of like the under for a lot of these bottom tier East teams.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of, let's get to another shitty team. My Chicago Bulls, my hometown Bulls. Big offseason for the Bulls. Bring in some big names. Additions of guys like Jalen Smith, Josh Giddey, getting Lonzo back from injury, which I'm excited to see how that's going to look. On what planet does Lonzo come out and is like good? Like, what are the chances?
I hope, but yeah, not especially when it's a Lonzo Giddey backcourt. I just don't see that.
They lose, honestly, 2 of the 3 good players on their team, DeRozan and Caruso. Their win total is at 28.5. They won 39 games last year. That would put they were ninth in the East. They lost in the play-in to Miami. Well, they won the first play-in game and then got blown out by the Heat in the second one. I was watching NBA TV the other night, and they were doing a season preview of the Bulls, and they had interviews with Billy Donovan and Zach LaVine, and it seemed to me awkwardly obvious how aware, especially LaVine was, that the narrative going into the season is that everybody wants his ass gone.
Yeah.
It was like you could tell that he knew it, and he's just sort of like, man, I just got to go out there and focus on myself and like get my job done, what I'm doing. It's an all-time bad vibes locker room going into this season. Yeah. And I think that I don't see how this team meshes well because they have so many guards that all want the ball and so little front court presence at all. I am excited for Matos Buzelis, though.
Yeah, I would say the one thing when I came up to visit you in Chicago, Kobe White's face is plastered all over that city.
We love Kobe White. He had 42 in the play-in game.
And the problem is the way this Bulls team is run by an awful owner, a dysfunctional GM. They have given up too many assets and paid too much money to guards that are worse than Kobe White. So Kobe White's going to get the short end of the stick because they haven't invested in him, and they don't want to be made to look like fools. So
it is #free Kobe White all year. Get him off the team.
He's going to be the sixth man. He's not going to start. It's going to probably be they're going to probably put Giddey as fucking forward.
He's going to start. Lonzo's not going to start.
Okay. Maybe if Lonzo doesn't start, then you got a Giddey Kobe backcourt with LaVine at the 3?
Yep.
Ugh. Yuck. And Vucevic is beyond washed.
Do you know Vuce scored 18 points a game last year?
Yeah, I don't give a fuck how many points he scored. That team has no defense, especially if Lonzo's knees are cooked. Yeah, I would be playing Bulls overs all year. I don't think that there's a single person on that team that wants to guard or can guard. It's not.
I agree. Off the bench, Ayo Dosunmu and Javon Carter, former NCAA Defensive Player of the Year, but they're not going to get that many minutes. Like we said, this
they have no wings.
Backcourt is so deep, right? It's all point guards.
Yeah, I'm pretty strong under on this. I think LaVine will be dealt. I don't think it'll be for anything at all good, but I think he'll probably be in a Lakers jersey by the trade deadline.
Who was I listening to the other day was talking about this? With the new harder cap in the second apron, does LaVine's contract become literally untradeable? Like, will no one take it?
There's a possibility. I'm thinking the Lakers are probably
he's due $43 million this year, then $46, then a $49 million player option.
Yeah, it honestly might. With the new restrictions, like it used to be, like no contract was untradeable. Like the Russ deal got traded, but like. Yeah, at this point it might, and the Bulls just might have to eat it. They might just sit there and he'll just be on that team unless he wants to get bought out because he hates it there. But
and I think they're gonna put the ball in Giddey's hands a lot because this is the last year on his contract, and he's a potential like paycheck guy if you think that he's like a future piece going forward.
For sure.
And so I think you're gonna see a lot of Giddey, probably a lot of Jalen Smith. Probably a little.
You and me like Giddey. I like Giddey.
I like
it's
Giddey
a controversial opinion these days. If you had a team surrounded for he's a good player that he can't fit in any system. That's why he stood out so bad in Oklahoma City last year. He can't stand in a corner and play off the ball. He needs the ball in his hands. He needs people around him that can defend, shoot. But he's a good player. He's
going to score on this team. He's going to score 17 or 18 a game probably.
Yeah. So that's the end of the capture the flag tier. There might be some debate if the Bulls should have been in that tier or if the other team that I'm going to talk about should be flipping them. I personally will debate it because I think the team that we're about to talk about, the Toronto Raptors, this total is too high for me. They are set at 29.5. They won 25 last year. And to my knowledge, they did absolutely nothing to improve this roster. other than the trade they made at the deadline, if you think that moves the needle for them. Masai Ujiri gets a lot of credit for making the Kawhi Leonard trade and getting the luckiest championship that maybe has ever been had in pro sports. And I don't want to...
They had no chance to beat that Warriors team.
Don't want to discredit Toronto. They deserve that championship. It was a great championship. Injuries happen, but the amount of credit he got for making that trade is absolutely asinine to me. He got 4 months of Kawhi Leonard, and if they don't win that championship, if KD, Clay don't get hurt, there is a lot of questions as to why the fuck you just traded one of the best players in the history of your franchise in DeRozan. He was, what do you want to say about DeRozan playoffs? Whatever. He was a great player for Toronto. Toronto loved him. He loved Toronto. And it's hard to get NBA players to love Toronto. He's made some of the most befuddling decisions since then by not trading OG Anunoby until he did. He actually got a decent haul for Anunoby. Pascal Siakam, like these guys that he just let keep playing on these middling teams. He traded a first. The reason why the Raptors tanked last year was to try and do what the Mavs did and get their pick protection, get to the sixth lowest record in the NBA, so they had a better chance to keep their pick. It was top 6 protected. They traded that for who's the fucking center that they got from the Spurs? I can't even remember his name. It's really pissing me off. But they traded for a center who's not that good.
Jakob Poeltl.
There we go. Jakob Poeltl. They traded a first-round pick, top 6 protected, for Jakob Poeltl on the trade deadline.
He can pass. He's a good passer.
Sure, whatever. A year and a half ago, at the trade deadline, when they should have been trading away their pieces to try to get better and tanking younger. And I don't know, man. I like Scotty Barnes. I like Quickly, but I don't think what they're paying Quickly, I think, is crazy, but all NBA contracts are crazy. I don't know. What does Quickly, Barrett, and Scotty Barnes get you? Does it get you 30 wins?
This is my first lock. Under.
Yeah,
this is my first lock that we're going to get to. They didn't do anything in the offseason other than they re-signed Barnes and Quickly. 2 big deals. Barnes, 5 years, $225 million. Quickly, 5 for $175. They said this team is the Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickly show this year. Yeah. It's these 2 guys. And I guess liking Scotty Barnes is sort of a litmus test for like knowing ball. It's like, do you watch the NBA? Do you know how good Scotty Barnes is?
Yeah.
28.2 and 6.1 and 2.8 stocks last year. Really, really great numbers. I'm not sure that he affects winning as much as his numbers reflect. There was a span last year where he got so frustrated with the offense that he just kind of like stopped playing for a week. Do you remember this?
Mm-hmm.
He was like taking like 5 shots a game, and then like they sat him out a couple games with like a whatever injury, and he had like a press conference where he said his mind's not in the right spot, and then he came back and played well. But it was like, what happened here?
Yeah.
He just decided for 2 weeks that he didn't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
And, I think that there's like a reputation thing that this team is supposed to be good at defense because they have length or whatever. But really the only guys that applies to anymore are Barnes and RJ Barrett and Grady Dick. I'm not sure that this team's going to be good defensively. They don't have any real rim protection. Poeltl's not a rim protector. I think they have a really low ceiling to how many games they can win because they just don't have enough firepower on offense.
Yep.
Quickly, so he played 38 games with Toronto last year, 30 with the Knicks. With the Knicks, he was 15 points per game, 2.5 assists. And then with Toronto, he was 18.5 points per game, 6.8 assists. So a big step up. I wonder if he settles somewhere in between those 2 this year.
I think it's closer to what he put up with Toronto. The thing with the guards in the NBA is there's so many good ones. Like, I understand and I like Quickly. I think he's a good player. Not even probably a top half point guard in the league. Like, it's just, and what does that get you when your next best player is Scotty Barnes, who I think is good and he's young and he can be better? I just don't know. And I've never been an RJ Barrett guy. He's one of the most inefficient players in the NBA. I know he looked a lot better in Toronto with the way they were playing, but than he did in New York. But I just don't see it with this team. I'm pretty with you on the lock on this under.
They also finished the year 2-19
Yeah.
in their
Well, they were
last 21 games.
blatantly trying to tank so they could keep their pick.
All right, but if just shows you that they're willing to do it again.
Yeah.
They were 12th in the East last year. They are plus 600 to make the playoffs.
No shot. Yep.
All right, so we're both locking in Toronto
Yeah.
under.
That's a major lock for me, for sure.
This next one is a fun one.
Yeah.
Atlanta Hawks over under 36.5.
You skipped
They
one,
won.
brother.
Did I? Who'd I skip?
The Hornets are at 30.5.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Charlotte Hornets over under 30.5.
Last year they won 21.
Right, 13th in the East. They don't lose anybody off their roster. They had Josh Green, which I think he's going to start.
Yeah, he might.
They draft Salon, 6th overall. And the big story is they're going to get LaMelo back, probably. He played 22 games last year. Looking for a step up from Brandon Miller. Bridges had a good year last year statistically.
Bad guy.
Right.
Bad guy.
I swear I watch a lot of basketball. I don't think I saw the Hornets play at all last year. I never cared.
I watched some games just to see Brandon Miller hoop. I like Brandon Miller a lot. I really hope he steps up. This team's going to be fun.
Loved him at Alabama.
Yeah, this team's going to be fun. They bring in Salon and Green. I don't think Salon's going to play much. He's probably more of a project player. But Josh Green, as a Mavs fan, I can tell you there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad. One of the most inconsistent players in the league. Can make you want to bang your head up against a wall because he's got rocks for brains sometimes. I don't know what he's doing, but he gives 120% out there. He's running around. When he's running the fast breaks, he's clocking 20 miles an hour, man. That guy is flying. We'll see. LaMelo is one of the best passers in the league. Luka is also. So if you can get Green in the corner, he's streaky, but when he's on, he's hitting 40+% from the corners. So I like him as a piece. Grant Williams played a lot better for them than he did for the Mavs. They got Mark Williams center. Much. Yeah, agreed. I think this is a possible over. I might have this as an over. It might be just I'm wish casting that they're going to be fun, but I think with Bridges, Miller, and LaMelo, as much as I think Bridges is an awful person, I think they have a lot of good players for LaMelo. They've got him a lob target. They've got him not great, but good young wing players.
Here's where I'm going to disagree with you. I think that depth is the issue for this team. Outside of their top three, which, how good really, where can you set the floor for, it could bottom out with LaMelo, Bridges, and Miller. That's not a sure thing at all. Nope. And then, beyond that, coming off the bench, Grant Williams, Cody Martin, Trey Mann, Seth Curry. I think that this team is you're thinking of the reputation of what they had 3 years ago when LaMelo had his breakout year.
Yeah.
They went 43-39 that year. They were the 10 seed. That team had Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington, Kelly Oubre, Mason Plumlee, and Montrezl Harrell on it. Those guys are all better than Grant Williams, Cody Martin, Trey Mann, Vasilija Micic. 30.5 is really low for a team that has a player as good as LaMelo, but
it really comes down to if he can stay healthy. If LaMelo can play 60 plus games, and Brandon Miller can take a step up, he doesn't even need to be all-star level, huge step. Just if he can just be a really efficient 18 to 20 points a game.
17.3 points per game last year.
I think he could get to 20 for sure. Especially when you're playing with a guy like LaMelo. If LaMelo can play 60 games, I think this team can win 31 of them. So that's why I'm on the over for this team. I also just really like watching LaMelo. He's fun to fucking watch. Not sure how he is as a person. Definitely needs to be arrested for reckless driving. All those
videos
are
driving
insane.
Are crazy. Shout out Connor Harden. He drives like Connor.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, I'm on the over for this team. Brant, not so sure.
Yeah, I'm staying away from this one.
Away from that one. All right. I agree that the next one It is very fun. I think this line is ridiculous. We're going to have some talks about this. I think we might be on the same page. Atlanta Hawks 36.5. They won 36 games last year. They win the lottery, get the number 1 pick, Zachary Richache. I think I said that right. Dyson Daniels and Larry Nance, they got in a trade for DeJounte Murray, who they traded to the Pelicans. I think Daniels and Nance are both pretty good role players. And then I think you're getting addition by subtraction with DeJounte Murray. I really think this team might win 40 games. I'm pretty.
The thing with DeJounte and Trey just not being able to play together was so it's such bad vibes for this team that I think this is cured. Addition by subtraction is a good way to put it. Trey missed 28 games last year, and they still were right at this number. And this bet, me going over on this, is basically it's the Jalen Johnson bet.
Okay.
He is 3rd best odds to win Most Improved Player this year. Last year, he averaged 16 points a game, 8.7 rebounds, 3.6 assists on 36% from 3. I think that could look more like 20, 10, and 5 this year in an expanded role. And Richache is 3rd best or 4th best Rookie of the Year odds, plus 900, 3rd best.
Who do they have in front of them? Just like the centers?
Edey is the top, and then Reed Shepherd is 2nd. This team is plus 170 to make the playoffs. I kind of like that. I think Dyson Daniels is a good player. I'm going over with this one.
I am also going over. I think this is just a better put together team for Trey, and if Trey can stay healthy than last year, them winning 36 games last year, I don't know. I think this team's better, so I love this line.
I love Trae Young.
Yeah, I like Trae Young now that the discourse has died down on the Luka trade. Trade is one of the most even trades in history. It's not even close. Trae Young's a great player. Luka Doncic is an all-time great player. There's levels to this, so let's not do that, Hawks fans. But yeah, I think that this is an easy over for me. Quinn Snyder's a really good coach, and I think he hated DeJounte Murray.
His glasses suck.
Yeah, he hated DeJounte Murray. He really did. I think a lot of people in that locker room hated DeJounte Murray. DeJounte was a shot chucker, and he was a good defender for Pop down in San Antonio. He was not in Atlanta. Luka gave that boy 73.
I would say the big question mark here is just, do they have enough offense? And I like Trae Young enough, and I think Jalen Johnson takes a step enough to make up for it.
Trey's enough offense,
I guess,
for sure.
You're counting on Bogdanovich probably to be a really consistent scorer, but he's pretty steady, man. And he's a great shooter. Trey's offensive output is through the roof. Points in it. He led the league in assists last year. I think he can make it happen on his own.
We'll see if they make the move. I think they could be, honestly, one of the best offenses in the league if they make the move to Okongwu over Capella. Capella's just really washed at this point. He's just old. His knees are giving out. But they're definitely going to be a fun team. This is one of the best League Pass teams for sure. Moving on. So that was the play-in teams there. Hornets, Raptors, Hawks. Although I don't really think the Raptors are anywhere close to the play-in. But that's how we have it ranked in here. Next up, we got the Can They Make a Run? And this team, even though I don't think they can make a run, has to be included because they've done it already. It's the Miami Heat at 44.5 wins. They won 46 last year. They lost Caleb Martin. Jimmy Butler wants a new contract. I get bad vibes from this team, but I'm not going to bet against Spo.
The Pat Riley interview about the Jimmy Butler extension was shocking. Only Pat Riley says shit like that and gets away with it, where he just is straight up like, hey, man, you don't fucking play. So, we're not just going to shell out the money to you.
Yeah. Hilarious.
Jimmy played 60 games last year. He scored 20.8 points per game. Hero played 42 games last year, also 20.8 points per game. And I don't know that you can bank on that much more than 100 combined games from the two of them. I think that's probably right around where they'll be again.
Yep.
And then Bam holding it down, the most consistent player in the
I love
NBA.
Bam, man.
71 games played last year, 19, 10, and 4. It breaks my heart that Bam is stuck on this team. Bam should be playing in playoff series against legit stars because that's how good he is. But
100%.
Depth is a concern here with Jaquez, Jovic, one of the two, Jaquez and Jovic starting, and then Duncan Robinson and Kevin Love and Josh Richardson off the bench. Depth is a real concern, especially when you've got two guys that just don't play that much.
Yep.
And it's like, man, we're going to be seeing – and Rozier has injury history. It's like we're going to be seeing a lot of guys that aren't very good on the floor for the Heat this season.
Yeah, they made that Rozier move, and I liked it at the time. He didn't play a lot, so I can't really judge it, but this team, I'll tell you what, if you put this roster in a different uniform with a different coach, I'm smashing under 44.5. But you can't do it with this team. You can't do it with Spo and Riley. They're always in the market to make a trade. I don't really see it. I love Bam. I think Bam did really well in the Olympics. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a career best year this year. But I mean, if Butler plays regular season games, but I mean, he played 60 last year and they only won 46. That's good for him. 60 games is a lot for Butler.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's no way he's playing like 70 plus games. There's no way.
60 is probably the best you're getting from him.
Since Jimmy arrived in 2019-2020, they won 44 games that year. His second year was their big breakout year where they were the 1 seed, 53 wins, and then 40 wins, and then 46 wins. So they've been right around this win total, just over or under it, every year but one that Jimmy has been there. And this is, I don't want to call it the worst roster since then, but probably the least depth. I mean, it's the most top heavy.
For sure. And I don't know if the top guys are that good. That's the problem.
Right.
How good is Jimmy still?
Right. Their top 6, like against anybody else's top 6, sure, they could probably go out and win any night. But like, how many nights are all 6 of those guys going to be playing? And once you get past that, which, I mean, I only wrote down 8 guys here. I'm going to pull up their roster and see who the hell else is going to be playing for this team. Because, I mean, if they've got to go 9 deep and you're pulling guys off the street. Hang on. Say something.
Sorry. I was already getting ready to go to the next team. I mean, the Heat are just they're just inevitable. They make playoff runs, but they never want to win regular season games, and I can't bet on them to win regular season games when the best player is your center, who's not going to be. You can't dominate night in and night out offensively, which is what you need in the regular season. You need guys to come in and dominate when you don't have the consistent scoring. I'm not counting on Hero and Jimmy playing games or Rozier, and even when they play those games, I'm not counting on them dominating them.
Here's who you're going to see a lot of on the floor for the Heat this season: Alec Burks and Haywood Highsmith.
Yikes.
The ball, when Alec Burks gets in, no matter what team he's on, the ball finds that man, and he ends up with the ball at the end of the shot clock. And it's always Burks trying to make something happen. I don't even think he's a bad player.
He's not.
On the Knicks and the Pistons both last year, I was always like, my God, why does he have the ball so much? All right, we can move on.
Yeah.
I lean under heavy there.
I do too. Just because I think you can win like 40 games and you're still where the Heat usually are this year for the East.
I played too many unders already in the bottom of the East, so I can't do it.
They'll be competing with the Hawks, I think, for that last top 8 type of spot. I think it'll be. I would take the Hawks. Personally, I would take the Hawks to have more wins than the Heat. I don't know if you can make a bet on that. If you can find a wager on that with plus money odds, I would look into that. Next up, we got Pacers at 46.5. They won 47 last year. Kind of similar feelings to I have with the Hawks here with this line. Pacers traded for Siakam before the deadline. So you get a whole season with him. This team won the in-season tournament, they got runners-up in the in-season tournament. I know that it was the first year that
it felt like they won.
Yeah, I remembered it as they won. But they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. That Eastern Conference Finals should have been a lot fucking closer if they didn't have one of the worst choke jobs I've ever seen in Game 2. They are a very fun team. Halliburton is great. If he can stay healthy and not mess up his shooting like he did last year when he got hurt, they're going to be really good. I like Siakam. They paid Nembhard, who had an unbelievable playoff run. We'll see if he can keep that up. But I like this team. I think they're fun. I think Rick's a good coach. And they won 46. They won 47 last year. This is at 46.5. I just don't see how they're going under this. I'm kind of in on this over.
So it should be said that they went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They beat Milwaukee, where Giannis barely played, and then they beat the Knicks, that were also super banged up, in 7 games, and then get swept by Boston. But this is probably, I think, one of the top 5 deepest teams in the league. I love Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah.
They also bring Obi Toppin and Shepherd and McConnell off the bench, and everybody loves McConnell. It's no secret. I almost don't want to like him because every announcer just can never shut up about how underrated he is. Yeah. He's not that good, you guys. Yeah. He's pretty good for a bench point guard. They just can't guard anybody is the big issue. And they lose Jalen Smith, who is their own, Miles Turner is allegedly a rim protector, but kind of not anymore.
Doesn't really do it anymore. Yeah.
They replaced Jalen Smith with James Wiseman, who is actually kind of a similar player, I think. Just Smith is better, probably. And I wonder, because their offensive output at the beginning of the season was so ridiculously high. Yeah. And it had to be to keep up with how bad their defense was. I wonder how sustainable that is. And they seem like a team that at some point, I think it's going to be good. At some point in this year, is going to have a losing streak where people are saying, what's wrong with the Pacers? Oh, wait, they can't fucking guard anybody. And then they'll bounce back. But it just depends on where that happens, how long it lasts, I think. They're 25-1 to win the East, which...
Yeah,
7th best. It's not that impressive.
Yeah, their 7th best win total here. I just it's not 46.5 is doable. And if we are saying what we are saying about the bottom of the East, I think that the Pacers can really run it up against those teams, which is why I'm kind of in on them to get hit over.
That's a good point. They'll beat up on some of these teams that just can't score with them.
Mm-hmm. And I think even the next 2 teams that we're going to talk about, I think that I might think the Pacers will finish better than them because I know for a fact they can outscore both the teams that we're about to talk about next. So I lean over on the Pacers. I don't know if I'm making it official or not, but we're going to lean over here. Next up is the Orlando Magic. They won 47 games last year.
Teams are very similar.
Yeah. They won 47 games last year. Their win total is at 47.5 this year. They obviously go out and sign Kentavious Caldwell-Pope away from the Denver Nuggets. KCP, good player. Nuggets fans will tell you about how bad he was in the playoffs for them. But Magic needs spacing, needs shooting. KCP has been a 40% three-point shooter for the past 4 years.
He's career 37%. Last 5 years, he's 39%.
Yep. He is 30 years old. We'll see if the age catches up to him, but I think it was a good signing for him.
Love the KCP signing.
Yeah,
I think it is perfect for what this team needed.
Yeah. I still have questions in that backcourt. Jalen Suggs played his best season as a pro last year. We'll see if he can build off that. Paolo, I love. I don't know how I love the Paolo Franz front court duo. We'll see.
They both can shoot. They're not great shooters. They both can shoot. I think that that's why adding KCP helps so much, because Suggs was 40% from 3 last year, taking tough shots as the only shooter out there all the time. There was a lot of times where they were like, Suggs, like, bail us out of this possession.
Yep.
And he ended up getting into a tough three and still managed to be really efficient on it. So I think just having another ball handler, shooting and facilitation, those are the two things that they needed. And that's what KCP does. And Paolo, Franz, and Suggs, and Wendell Carter, and Jonathan Isaac, all these guys are all trending up. Even if only like 2 or 3 of those guys take a step forward this year, I think the Magic are going to be really good. This is one of my locks. I'm going over on this one, locking it in.
All right. Yeah, I would lean over just because I believe in Paolo, and I don't think that oh my god, just complete blanks. Franz could ever have that bad of a shooting year again. That's like one of the all-time worst shooting years I think I've ever seen from a guy who's
It's
actually
been
a good
talked
player.
about a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would
you
lean over
cite the
this.
free throw shooting to say that there's still a chance that he is not a cooked product. Do you remember how good this team was defensively when they rolled out the all 6'10" lineup last year?
I mean, that's the thing. That's why they were in these games and they weren't scoring, is because they were the best defensive team in basketball. They're really good defensively, and the question was, can they score? They had KCP to help space the floor. We'll see if they can figure it out this year. I believe in the Magic.
They were all living on tough shots last year, and if they can just like a little bit of effort towards getting better shots is going to go a long way for this team offensively.
I definitely believe in the Magic more than the next team that we're going to talk about.
Agreed.
Sure. So with that being said,
real quick, Paolo plus 20,000 MVP. Just think about it. It's a big number.
It is a big number. That is a big number. Cavs are the next team on the list. They won 48 games last year. Win total is at 48.5 this year. Biggest change up this year. They fired JB Bickerstaff after the loss in the playoffs. Shams drops an absolute evisceration of him 5 minutes after he was fired. Brutal from Shams. He probably read it in the locker room. Kenny Atkinson, they bring in. Kenny's a good coach, good talent developer. I think they're hoping that he can help Mobley out. He's the X factor for this team if he can turn himself into anything offensively. I'm just not in on this team. I'm really not. I don't like the Garland-Mitchell combo. I don't like the Allen-Mobley combo. I'm not in on this team. I think they're going to go under. I gotta run for a sec, Brant. Go.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't get why. Like, I get why people are projecting the Mobley offensive leap because he like has the build for it and he looks like he should be able to dribble and shoot, but he can't dribble and shoot. Like, you can watch it and tell there's no foundational, especially his jumper. There's no foundation for it to be built on. There's nothing that you see that makes you go like, oh, this guy could become a good shooter. And that just puts a huge cap on their offense when you have him and Allen out there at the same time. And what scares me about this team is that they won 48 games last year, and their top 3 guys all missed a lot of time. Mitchell played 55 games, Garland 57, and Mobley 50. And of those 57 that Garland played, he played hurt a lot too. And real down year from him. But again, he was playing hurt. I think it was his hip or something that was bothering him for a while. And Donovan Mitchell very quietly had, I think, the best season of his career last year. 26.6 points per game. That's second best of his career. And a career high 6.1 assists. But, yeah, while you're gone, Luke, I basically just said I don't see any foundational evidence for the Mobley leap coming.
I had my headphones on. I heard you. But yeah.
He does have the second best odds for most improved player at 11-1. And he's 5th best for defensive player of the year at 16-1.
It's just tough because, I mean, we've had this conversation. We're not breaking any news to anybody. Their 4 best players, both of them, 2 of each. They have 2 pairs that play the same position. So they're always playing people out of position. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is a shooting guard, but if Donovan Mitchell's your shooting guard, you can't have a 5'11" point guard. It's not. I know the Jazz did it. They had Gobert, and they were turnstiles, and that's why they lost in the playoffs. They were turnstiles on the outside, and they just followed everything to Gobert, And that's why they were getting just decimated every year in the playoffs. I like the pieces individually. I don't like how they fit together on this team. And I'm not breaking any news to anybody with that. I think everybody has kind of the same feelings.
Do you remember what a slugfest their first round series against Orlando was?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I think Orlando should have won that series. If they didn't have a historically bad shooting game in Game 7, they're winning that series.
Yeah, and this was two teams when they went up against Boston in the next round. It was like you could tell that these teams were just in different tiers. Like, felt like they were kind of playing different games out there. I don't know how much I love the bench depth either. I mean, Okoro, LeVert, Dean Wade, George Niang. Those aren't great players.
No, they paid Okoro because they drafted him. They don't have any swing guys for me. I mean, shout out Max Strus, half quarter against the Mavs, brutal. Not even half court, 3/4 court. If he hits 7 threes in a playoff game, they can win that playoff game. But I mean, it's just tough. I mean, the best stretch of the season was when both Mobley and Garland were out, and it was just Mitchell, Allen, two-man game. Mitchell's a great player, and he signed the contract. There's nowhere for him to go. I think that they should pivot and move on from Allen and Garland, but it's hard. It's easy for me to say that. I don't know what the offers they could get for that. But I would look to switch it up, and I think they will if things don't go according to plan to start the season, and definitely if they have a burnout this year. This will be the last year of this roster. For sure.
Garland is going to have a bounce back year. Like I said, he was playing hurt last year. He was 18 points per game last year, down from 21.6 the year before, and 37% from three, down from 41 the year before. And he even when he first came back, they were like working him into the offense. Like he wasn't playing full minutes for a while, and like he wasn't getting the ball. It was just weird. It was a weird setup. It was like they had to reintegrate him or something. He didn't just come back in and immediately was playing point guard again. It was weird. He's gonna have a bounce back year.
I agree. I just I
don't know that makes them better than the Magic though.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the East. I think there's some teams in the East that got better in this middle to top tier. And I don't think the Cavs did. And they won 48 last year. Totals at 48.5. I'm taking the under on this. I'm sorry, Stebbins. He texted me this morning, asking what time we come over to watch football today. And I told him what we were doing. And he just said Cavs. So I think he's in on the Cavs. I'm sorry, Adam. I'm not in on the Cavs. I'm pretty out. I will say, I think Bickerstaff is one of the worst coaches in the league. I think there could be some adjustments that Atkinson makes that could improve the team, but I think that a lot of the other teams in the East have gotten better towards the top area, so I'm just going to have to say
this is one of the easiest predictions for how a season is going to end for any team. Like, you just know this team is going to get a little bit of hype going into whatever playoff series they're the underdog in, being like this young Cavs team, and then they're going to have no chance.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so that's
first round exit, whatever that you can lock that bet in for, whatever odds you can get first round exit, they're going to do exactly that.
Because they're not going to get the 4 seed and get to play the 5 seed Magic this year. They're gonna be playing one of these top 4 that we're about to talk about right now. So that was the Can They Make a Run tier. We're heading into contender tier now. First one up, Milwaukee Bucks, 50.5. They won 49 games last year with an absolute debacle of a year. Between Giannis being hurt, Dame being out of shape, they fire their coach 20 games in. They hire Doc Rivers off the ESPN booth. Crazy year for the Bucks, and they still win 49 games because Giannis is that fucking good. They add Gary Trent.
He adds a serious floor to this team.
They had Gary Trent in the offseason and Taurean Prince, if you count that as a needle-moving move, I don't know. But for a team that was strapped to the cap, couldn't do much, the Gary Trent signing is a home run. He's not a great player, but for a Bucks team that needs swingmen on the wings, I think that is about as good as you can do for the situation they were in.
Yeah, you always need to put shooting around Giannis.
Yeah.
The more you can just get somebody who can shoot out there, the better.
Yeah. I do expect a bounce back season from Dame this year. I think he said multiple times in interviews, he was going through a divorce. He had he didn't work out at all in the offseason the year before because he didn't want to hurt himself before he got traded.
Right.
So he was not. I just expect this team to be better. I don't love Doc Rivers. I really don't. But I think he knows how to deal with these personalities.
I think Doc Rivers is a good coach.
I think he knows how to deal with personalities. In-game coaching, I don't know about that, but I don't know if you need that good at in-game coaching when you got Giannis and Dame. If Dame's healthy, I think this team crushes 50.5. Middleton is another one that you're just like, does he have legs anymore? He's had 2 more surgeries.
Can I give you his numbers from the playoffs last year?
I know he was good in the playoffs.
Let me give you the numbers. It was 6 games, small sample size. Mm-hmm. He scored 24.7, 9.2 rebounds, 4.7 assists on 48% field goal percentage.
Listen, I love Middleton. He's a great player. I tell you what, if he never got hurt after that championship they won, if he would have never gotten hurt and they just stayed the course, played like 65, 70 games a year, he was probably going to be a Hall of Famer. Because the NBA Hall of Fame is that easy to get into, and he won a championship with Giannis as the second, I guess, best player on that team, either him or Drew. But the one thing that worries me...
It was Drew for the playoffs, at least.
Yeah. One thing that worries me with this team is all the rumors about how they were trying to get younger defensively and at the center position. Brooke Lopez has been a soldier and just a rock for that team for past half decade. And they were just throwing his name out in trade rumors all offseason, didn't get a deal done. And, that's kind of worrisome for me. But I don't think that this team – I mean, a Giannis Brooke defense is going to be top 10 in the league. So not super worried about that. Dame's not even a cone. Dame's like I don't even know. He's one of the worst defenders in the league. But I think offensively they'll be fine.
Here's some projections for where Giannis and Dame are going to be this season. For points per game total, Giannis's over-under is 30.6. Yeah. Dame's is 24.5. Giannis is 8-1 to win MVP. That's 5th best. He's 20-1 to win Defensive Player of the Year. This team, to me, is more of a playoff sleeper than a regular season powerhouse, just because I like the Gary Trent signing as well. If you're banking on Middleton health, on Giannis health, I just don't love the guys behind them. They also brought in DeLon Wright, who I like.
I was thinking about bringing it up. But
DeLon Wright, Bobby Portis, and Pat Connaughton off the bench it's one of the worst benches in the NBA.
Yeah, that is for sure a concern. It just depends on how many regular season wise for this win total. It depends how many games Giannis and Dame play for sure. Because
I totally agree with you that the ceiling on this team is as high as you want to make it because of Giannis and Dame, and because I kind of am bought in on Middleton, but the floor for the regular season is also pretty low because they're so top heavy. This is a team that I think could potentially make a run, but it's not somebody that I want to back over 82 games, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. I'm not going to probably have a play on this total, but I do think that if 49 was the floor, which is what they got last year, I don't know how you can't think that they're going to win over 50. But I don't want to put it on the Bucks in the regular season either. I'm with you there. Next one, probably the biggest 1 year turnaround of a flip of a roster in the NBA. The 76ers last year, they won 47 games. Their total is at 52.5. They obviously, Daryl Morey pushes all his chips into the middle, pushes back the Tyrese Maxey extension in offseason so that way he sells everybody. He's like, I'm going to make a run. I'm going to go get a star. He does it. He goes and gets PG-13, playoff P, and they also somehow snag Caleb Martin away from the Heat. They draft Jared McCain out of Duke. We'll see if he can play.
Even outside of the Paul George move, take Paul George out, the guys that they added outside of Paul George compared to who they lost is a net positive.
For sure.
Like
For
they
sure.
got better plus Paul George.
Yeah.
You lose Batum, Heald, and Melton, and you replace them with Caleb Martin, Reggie Jackson, Eric Gordon, Gershon Yabusele.
They also had Drummond, which should hopefully finally fix their backup center problem that they've been having. Drummond's, I think we all know, a decent center in the league when he's not trying to hit jump hooks. They also lost Tobias Harris, which I know for a fact Sixers fans absolutely fucking hated Tobias Harris.
I'm sure Embiid is glad that motherfucker is gone.
Yes.
The real question is, how many games does Embiid play? He says he doesn't care about MVP this year.
Yeah. I think that actually might be true. Apparently he's in the best shape he's ever been in and lost a lot of weight. We'll see.
Do you know what his points per game was last year?
Oh, yeah, 34.
34.7.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. Insane. Yeah, he was on pace for his best season for sure last year. The injury thing with him is always scary. Same with Paul George. But I really like this over just because I think that even if Embiid misses and Paul George misses, I think with the swingmen that they have and what I see from Maxey offensively, I think that even if those guys are out, Maxey can win you games because of how good he is offensively.
Maxey's so fun to watch. He's top tier, most fun to watch in the NBA for me.
Mm-hmm.
He's so good at the high pick and roll, and honestly, it's like the further away from the basket, the better, because he's so fast and because he has that legit range. And he was a great passer last year too. 6 assists a game. I would have thought that was higher. I felt like I was seeing highlight passes from him every night.
Mm-hmm.
I love this Sixers team. Embiid only played 39 games last year.
Yeah, I love this team too. I said that it's hard to not be in on this over, but I'm not going to make an official one just because it's tough because the top two in this, fuck it. I'm going to ride over with the top three because I think all three of these teams are way better than everybody else in their conference.
I agree. Yeah, I think the Bucks are in sort of a weird limbo spot between like
they're definitely
three powerhouses at the top, and then definitely better than everybody else.
Yeah. So you got anything else in the Sixers?
No, I lean over, but I'm not going to go over because I am going to go over on
the two.
Knicks. Yeah.
Yeah.
New York Knicks over under 54.5 wins. They're plus 800 to win the championship. That's the third best in the league. They're plus 400 to win the East. They had a almost magical playoff run last year with so many guys hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Brunson playing absolute hero ball, just like winning the hearts of the city, everybody watching. He's plus 1,800 to win MVP this year. They add, of course, Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns. They re-sign OG Anunoby. They lose Randall, DiVincenzo, Hartenstein, a couple bench guys. They just get way better at the top. Their starting lineup is as good as any in the NBA. And I think, Mitchell Robinson is going to be out until like December. I don't really think that matters that much.
Not at all.
Do you remember OG Anunoby guarding Embiid last year?
Yeah.
I'm not worried about like Cat having to guard centers. I think between him and OG together, they can make it work for 40 games.
I am so in on this Knicks team. It scares me how in I am on this Knicks team.
I love this team.
I was like, yeah, the Knicks are good, but I don't know. Maybe are the 76ers better? The Cat trade has perplexed people. It's not perplexing to me. That is a fucking home run for the Knicks, in my opinion.
He's the greatest shooting big man of all time.
No, he's not. Dirk Nowitzki is. Thanks for thinking that, Cat. But yeah, Cat is a perfect. If you could build a roster to put Karl Anthony Towns on, this is the one you build. They've got OG who can help him play defensively against these centers. And it's not like how Gobert would help him play, where Gobert's just sitting in the middle. Like, OG can swarm. They can switch. They have OG and Mikal that can switch and swarm with him on these bigger matchups. I just
Josh Hart can guard bigger guys.
I love this Knicks team. I love the way that they're put together. If everybody can stay healthy and Tibbs doesn't run them into the dirt, they are going to be a very fun and very good basketball team.
Yeah, they've got 6 or 7 guys that are just really solid and do a lot of things really well.
Yeah.
Achua and McBride off the bench are both great. Again, they're not as deep as they were last year, but it's because they're so much better. Their starting five so much better.
I truly think that this team can beat the Celtics. I think if you just went starting five for starting five, you're looking at them. They have good matchups for good matchups for the Celtics, and I don't think many teams do. I think they have the wings that can help slow down Brown and Tatum. I think that they have a center who is not good defensively, but he can match the output of Porzingis if Porzingis is playing. And then you have Brunson, who is unless Drew can just completely shut Brunson down, you have an offensive engine that will keep churning. And I really like this Knicks team. I'm locking in the over at 54.5.
I am as well, and I like them to beat Boston as well. I kind of like them to have the most regular season wins at plus 850.
I'm thinking that too, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that the roster is better than Boston, but it's like everybody knows that the Knicks are. It's like, Knicks, please save us. You're the only team that can save us from Boston.
Yeah.
Repeating in the East.
Them or healthy Sixers, I think, could.
Yeah.
I'm not as confident in the Sixers as the Knicks.
I agree. I love this over. I'm locking it in.
Yeah. All right, last one. The defending NBA champions won 64 games last year. Totals at 58.5. They bring everybody back, and the only thing is that Porzingis is going to miss probably 40 games, probably half the season.
Yeah, they said I think January is when he's projected to be back.
So probably February.
Right. But so who's playing in his spot? Horford, who turns 39 this season. Hauser and Cornet, I guess. Cornet's like Xavier Tillman, I guess. They're not fucked without Porzingis, but it's not even that. I kind of expected their win total to be higher than this. I guess I was thinking 59.5.
I think this team can win 60 games. I don't know why they couldn't. Drew, Tatum, Brown. I mean, yeah, it's a really good team. This team was historically great last year. They dominated outside of just some classic Celtics blunders in the playoffs. They dominated. And I think the Mavs could have given a bigger run if Kyrie could have showed up at all in Boston. But they are a really, really, really good team. They've paid everybody. They're all in for the next 2 years, probably. So yeah, I think, and they're just good in the regular season. They just are. They win a lot of games. They've outpunched their weight class, even before they got this great team in the regular season before. They win regular season games, and I think that they can easily win 60 this year. I'm in on the over. There's
no glaring weakness. There's no reason that you look on paper and go, this team will not win 60 games. They're the runaway favorite. They're plus 310 to repeat, plus 155 to win the East. They have pretty much the exact same roster, plus they add Lonnie Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see if you're saying under, you're just guessing. You're just guessing that there's going to be a hangover or some type of locker room issue. Which, say what you will about Joe Maz, I think those guys like him. I think they're bought into his crazy bullshit, and I can see why. He seems at least genuine with what he's saying, even though a lot of what he says doesn't make sense. I think he believes what he's selling them, and I think that matters.
Yeah, and they shot the most threes in the league last year by a wide margin. They shoot a ton of threes, and they make a ton of threes. They've got, Tatum's the worst three-point shooter on the team, probably. I think that the way they play, I think if you're playing devil's advocate and you're like, this is why they're going under. You're saying Knicks got better, Sixers got better, Bucks got better.
Tatum's jump shot's broken.
They're going to miss more threes than they did last year because they made a historic amount. I think they made the most 3-pointers ever last year.
But they were like 5th or 6th in 3-point percentage, though.
Yeah.
It was a lot of volume.
Yeah. So I think if you're playing devil's advocate, you just say that, and you say without Porzingis for half the season, maybe they start slow, hangover.
He missed a ton of games last year, too.
I know. But I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
All right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
They're going to start slow with the championship hangover or whatever, but I just don't see it. I think that the Celtics are they're locked in. I think they're ready to roll. I'm not the biggest Tatum guy, but I do think that all the negative publicity he got from Team USA and everything, I think that might actually kind of light a fire under his ass. I wouldn't be surprised if Tatum has the best season of his career this year. Maybe not points-wise, but just efficiency.
He is 18 to 1 to win MVP.
Yeah, that if you want to donate money, go ahead and bet that. There's no shot. There's like 2 people who could win MVP this year.
I agree.
Yeah. Anything else in the East, Brent?
Nope. Let's go over our picks.
All right.
I have 3 official overs. I'm going over on the Washington Wizards over 20.5 wins, the Atlanta Hawks over 36.5 wins, and the New York Knicks over 54.5 wins. And on the other side, I have 3 unders as well. I'm going under 25.5 wins for the Detroit Pistons. I'm going under 29.5 wins for the Toronto Raptors, and I'm going under 28.5 wins for the Chicago Bulls. A lot of stinkers in the East.
Yeah.
It's going to be a top-heavy conference, I think, and I think the top teams are going to beat up on the bottom ones.
Yep. My official picks for the overs, I am taking over on the Celtics at 58.5, the Knicks at 54.5, and the Hawks at 36.5. I'm also going to take the over on the Hornets at 30.5. Those are my 4 official overs. Unders, I'm pretty lockstep with Brant here. Raptors 29.5, Pistons 25.5. But I'm not going to join on the Bulls just because I think there's a chance that Jerry Reinsdorf is just the worst, and he just wants to sell tickets to play in games. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try to win games just because they're like the most dysfunctional organization in the NBA. So my last under is going to be the Nets at 19.5. I think that's one that you can just never watch a Nets game, and you might just make $300 at the end of the year.
They're terrible. I don't want to watch them play at all.
Nope. All right, so that's the Eastern Conference. We're going to take a quick pause here. This is going to be a 2-part podcast. So we're gonna clock back in here and take the West over. Yep, let's have a great NBA season. It's gonna be fun, man. Peace.